Hello?
Hello.
Thanks for staying around. I'm Ayala Sella, and I'm going to be reading some poetry from a book that just came out this summer. I'm very happy to be reading here at Smalls, which is a place that I used to come to in high school years ago when there was no bar and it was very smoky. And the first time I came back since Smalls changed, I had a beer and a paper bag, and Mitch was standing outside, and I asked him if anything had changed, and he said, well, yeah, the cover charge is now $20 and we have a bar. So again, I'm very happy to be here reading from my book. It's a book of poetry that is in 4 parts, and there are poems written here in New York City and some written during the years that I spent in Israel. The first poem I'll read is called Louis Promenade. A man with 2 hooks for hands walks above the golden dome, and a woman looks for earrings underneath a bench she lost 5 or 6 years ago, as her mate quietly inquires of my 20-year exile. I was away for 20 years. I came back. And I had a lot of odd jobs in between being an English teacher, and one of them was a hotel receptionist. This is one of the longer poems. It's called Doris. The socket flares each time upon ejection, day or night. The pilgrims send postcards home via reception with words that Jesus and his disciples are still walking the banks of the lake. Then a Swiss gentleman approaches the counter with his perfect Hebrew and asks for whipped cream instead of a safety deposit box, and we smile together at his mistake. And van number 39 makes a trip to the fish restaurant to pick up Doris, who missed the sights today because of chest pains. She invites me for coffee on the promenade, and although I'm on duty, there's no hesitation. And we sit, and she tells me stories of Yeshua and his resurrection, and of the gentleman whose great-aunt hid Jews in the war and spoke of nothing when the police arrived. And a cat climbs onto our laps as the sun begins to set and the fishermen walk past. She gives me her only copy of the Gospels as a gift and hopes she hasn't offended me. She believes it was fate that we met today. And later they gather at the bar to sing songs, and the whipped cream man plays guitar and his beautiful wife plays a wooden flute, and all the songs are sung in French and Hebrew. I have practiced my French today, typed from right to left, and told no one of the kitten who snuck inside for a rest on the couches. It's one of the more serious ones, so I'll read you perhaps a less serious one, written in Tel-Aviv. It's called The Urban Canine. Tel-Aviv on Yom Kippur is a magical place. The homos are all out. One comments on how the dog always goes for the backside first and smiles at his clever irony. The Thai immigrants are in large clusters, some with a new generation that speaks Hebrew. A lone ambulance passes, a police van. Within seconds of this new phenomenon, the dogs are off their leash and running about the endless pavement they usually loathe treading. Their only collision is with the bounty of bicycle riders and pedestrians who are due to fast and atone for their sins. Thank you. How are we doing so far, okay?
Yeah.
You all right that there's no trumpet behind me? I kind of wish that there were. This is one of my earlier poems. I believe I was in high school or so when I wrote it, and it's called Track. We can dedicate it to the great Hank Chinaski. I started to read you within a month or so of your death, old man wrinkled and smiling, a gold ring, fears down the trash, the poem still rolling. I was one of those girls reading your stuff in bed late at night, and sometime later the poems came for me too. But I miss seeing you, knocking on the door with a 6-pack, tripping over you at the races. We would have been great friends, but now you are as real as if you lived next door, screaming, farting, throwing bottles, banging away your love, and I am still the girl up at night, trying my go at this beautiful trade. Thank you. The next one is in the section of the book that's called "And All She Does Is Smirk," and they are all poems that I wrote in Brooklyn before going back to Israel. And this one is called Acrobats. In this strange place, the cats walk along white bricks about 6 meters long, which are piled below huge vertical windows of some old factory. Very urban. When I stare enough of 60 seconds or so, their silhouette becomes one-dimensional, like moving, agile cardboard cutouts, which for some reason reminds me of Paris in the 20s. My cats walk these 6 meters, stopping to smell or looking up in a meow. Every few steps they meet, have a quick greeting, and intercept each other like tightrope acrobats, tail up and swaying elegantly. They continue at this pace, walking, breaking, the casual hellos. It is a circus act here in this crazy place we all three are newcomers to. The light is good, the stomach is satisfied, and the entertainment is top rate. And since we're on the same chapter, I'll read you a poem that may be one of my best. It's what they'll remember me by. I like to think of it. It's called Gala. Eve once fed me an apple from her garden. Its name was Gala, and I was wearing large green mittens and dirty cream shoes, descending a long escalator in the city after Eden. Adam wasn't there, and we were both pregnant, smoking cigarettes without tar and drinking tall silver cans of Japanese beer after the night of the lunar eclipse. I think Adam was off somewhere reading about socialism and punk rock on the toilet, but we weren't sure. You like it? Good? All right. Perhaps we can find a somewhat amusing one. This is called a sad poem, and it was also written in Brooklyn in a neighborhood called Bushwick, which is a very industrial neighborhood. And they had open studios now this past weekend, which I participated in. And last night I read at a place called Goodbye Blue Monday, which is a nice music gig if you guys are interested. It's called a sad poem. This is all I have now on a white Christmas, almost homeless. The Spanish kids make snowmen outside, and a black man makes a deal on the only payphone in the street. I have no phone, walking in the storm, no quarters to wash my dirty clothes, no contacts to replace my crooked spectacles, but the clock is no longer 20 minutes late. And I will read you the last poem in the book, and the chapter is called The Manhattan Skyline. It's also the last poem that I wrote since coming back to New York, and it's called Socialite. I drank chain beer tonight and walked a black lab in the snow, passing the apartment buildings of the young and rich in their indoor swimming pools and fancy gyms. As we ran toward the boardwalk, I tried to teach Joseph the dog about the Manhattan skyline, but he seemed more interested in rolling around in the snow and pulling me along. It's the only volunteer work I'd ever agree to do, and if I could give up my day job for this, I would in a heartbeat. On Tuesday it was Johan, a half-shepherd, half-Amstaff canine. I think that maybe he doesn't speak English, and I chat with him in Italian along the same boardwalk. When I bring him back to the shelter, I tell him that I love him. I remember asking you once if you were getting paid extra for being the advisor of that lame high school literary magazine, and you said enough to buy an extra order of fries at McDonald's. I've actually used that one once or twice throughout the years. So what if I'm nostalgic?